Hello and welcome to the I Can Do podcast with Benjamin Lee. We're here to talk about tips and strategies to have an I Can Do mindset. Life is what you put into it. Get the most you can. Here's your host, Benjamin Lee.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. It's striking that these words came from Solomon because Solomon knew what complete trust in God looked like. He experienced it firsthand. You can go back and read his story. Early in his reign, Solomon had everything necessary for a successful kingdom. Think about it. It was not because of his military strength or political wisdom or financial security, although he had a lot, but he had everything for a successful kingdom because he had God. You see, the Lord granted him wisdom beyond measure. We read about this in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 7 through 13. God blessed his kingdom with peace and even spoke directly to him on a few occasions. Yet somewhere along the way, what Solomon said in Proverbs 3 and verse 5 and 6, he eventually stopped living. He accumulated wives, concubines, horses, wealth, military strength, in direct contradiction to what God warned and instructed all future kings in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 16, 17, and 18. You see, here's the kicker. In those verses, God also told the kings that they were to make a copy of his law. Solomon no doubt had that copy of his law, and no doubt he would have read it and read it continually and knew it and probably could quote it. And that was designed to keep the king's hearts humble to God. And yet, despite all of this, despite the copy of God's law, the wisdom and the commands that he knew, he eventually got to a point where he ignored it. In 1 Kings chapter 10, and you can read this on your own, in 2 Chronicles chapter 8, it describes the enormous wealth that Solomon had, and the cities, and the horses, and the chariots, and the possessions. He had so much gold, silver wasn't even valuable. His kingdom became the envy of the world. Yet when trust erodes, storage increases. You see, when we fully trust God, we find contentment in his care. But when trust weakens, we often begin searching for security somewhere else. Can you relate to those words? It may be that you stockpile money, that you chase after possessions, that you run after achievements, that you seek for relationships or influence. Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. So, those are easy words to quote, to read, to share, but challenging to believe. Trusting God means refusing to lean on our own understanding. It means believing that God's wisdom is better than our reasoning, your reasoning and mine, even when his commands seem inconvenient and costly. It means acknowledging him in all our ways. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Not just some of our ways or part of our hearts, but in every facet of our lives. Our marriages, parenting, careers, finances, friendships, and ambitions. Solomon's tragedy was not that he lacked wisdom. He wrote some of the greatest words of wisdom. Look, he wrote the book. His tragedy was that he eventually stopped trusting the wisdom he already possessed. That same danger is at my door, and it's at your door right now. Because you and I know what God says. We know where true security is found. The question is whether you and I are going to continue to trust God even when life becomes comfortable, or especially when life becomes comfortable, especially when life is more successful, and even when it's uncertain. Will we trust? The path that leads us away from God usually does not begin with open rebellion. It begins when we slowly replace dependence upon God and put that dependence upon ourselves. Solomon's life reminds us that wisdom is not merely knowing God's word. Wisdom is trusting it enough to obey it and to lean upon it at all times.